JBN, we keep you informed. 72-year-old man shot dead in St. Elizabeth. The St. Elizabeth police are probing the murder of a senior citizen who was last night shot dead at his home in Fullerswood District, Arlington in St. Elizabeth. The deceased has been identified as 72-year-old Winston Neal, otherwise called Joe. According to the police's corporate communications unit, Neal was at his home when shortly after 7 p.m., an unknown assailant entered and opened fire, hitting him several times in the upper body. The police were alerted and Neal was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Woman charged after setting boyfriend's house on fire. A St. Mary woman has been charged with arson after she set a 3-bedroom dwelling ablaze on Tuesday, August 4. Charged is 31-year-old Vanessa Hay of Hampstead Street in the parish. The police said that at about 10 a.m., Hay allegedly went to her boyfriend's home on Burnside Road, Preston Hill, also in the parish, and set it on fire, destroying it. She was later apprehended and charged. She is to appear before the St. Mary Parish Court on Thursday, September 10. St. Elizabeth Police named 5 wanted men. The St. Elizabeth Police have named 5 men wanted for various crimes committed in the parish. Deputy Superintendent Nardia Sims, head of the St. Elizabeth Police Division, said the men are linked to several cases of murder, shooting with intent, and robbery. One of the men is Oral Cole, otherwise called Ras or Pretty Ras, who frequents the Comfort Hall area in Manchester and is wanted for several cases of robbery. He is considered armed and dangerous. The other men are Eric Campbell, otherwise called Frost, who frequents the 5-Pen area of St. Elizabeth and is wanted for shooting with intent. Dujan Wright, otherwise called Duji, Soji or Blackman of Newtown, St. Elizabeth, and is wanted for shooting with intent. Romaine Sinclair of Bull Savannah, St. Elizabeth, wanted for housebreaking and larceny, and Verton Salmon of Southampton in St. Elizabeth, who is wanted for murder. Father and infant son killed in Rosehall Main Road crash. A grey Nissan AD wagon driven by Mark Brown crashed into a tree on the Rosehall Main Road about 10 last night, killing him and his 2 passengers. Also deceased is 39-year-old Tangier Grant, otherwise known as Paulette, of Grange Pen, St. James, and 2-year-old Jamar Brown. The baby, the deceased son, appeared to have been thrown from the vehicle during the collision. According to police reports, the child was still breathing when the ambulance arrived on the scene and was rushed to the Cornwall Regional Hospital, but he later succumbed to his injuries. The report further noted that the fire department had to remove Brown's and Grant's bodies from the mangled vehicle. It appears that they died on the spot. The police said the car, which was proceeding in the direction of Falmouth via the Rosehall Main Road, developed a skid approximately 100 meters from the traffic light at the entrance to the Hilton Rosehall Resort. Brown lost control of the vehicle, which resulted in the collision. The crash, the police said, may have been caused by faulty tires. Investigations continue. Soldier charged for pointing gun at girlfriend's head. A Jamaica Defense Force JDF soldier has been arrested and charged in relation to an incident that took place in Bridgeport, St. Catherine on Saturday, August 1. 37-year-old Omar Hines, who is of Gibraltar Heights, Anoto Bay, has been charged with assault at common law and illegal possession of firearm. Lawmen said at about 12:45 p.m., Hines and his girlfriend were involved in a dispute. It is alleged that he pointed his licensed firearm at the woman's head and threatened to kill her. A report was made and Hines was arrested the same day and charged following an interview. His court date is being finalized. 2 cold cases resolved following Preke's death. The police say 2 additional cold cases have been resolved following the death of one of Jamaica's most wanted men, Delano Wilmot, otherwise called Preke Boy. According to the police, Preke has been linked to the murders of 64-year-old Dudley Morrison in St. James and O'Neill Godfrey. Lawmen said Morrison was reported missing on Wednesday, July 28, 2017, was found in a pit behind an abandoned house with gunshot wounds to his upper body. It is reported that Godfrey was at home on Sunday, July 24, 2016, with family members when a gunman entered and opened gunfire, hitting him to his upper body. The police continue to appeal to anyone who has suffered at the hands of the hoodlums to tell what they know by calling the police 119 emergency number Crime Stopper 311 or the nearest police station. Church minister among 5 charged with having sexual intercourse with minor. A church minister is among 5 people who have been charged with having sexual intercourse with a person under 16 in separate incidents in Clarendon, St. Catherine, and St. Andrew. In the first incident, 32-year-old Ian Reed, a church minister of Treadlight District in Clarendon, was charged with having sexual intercourse with a person under 16 after he telephoned a 15-year-old girl on Monday, July 20, and decided to meet with her at an abandoned building in his community where he had sexual intercourse with her. The matter was reported to the police on Tuesday, August 11, and Reed arrested and charged. Meanwhile, in St. Catherine, 27-year-old Alwyn Carr of Dawkins Avenue in Portmore, St. Catherine, and Andre Barrett of Partridge Way, Elsher in St. Catherine, and a Kingston 20 address were charged with rape, having sexual intercourse with a person under 16, abduction, grievous sexual assault, and human trafficking. Reports are that on Tuesday, July 21, Carr picked up a 15-year-old girl in downtown Kingston and brought her to a house in Portmore, St. Catherine, where he and Barrett had sexual intercourse with her. The matter was reported to the police, and an operation carried out in downtown Kingston on Wednesday, August 5, where both men were nabbed. Carr and Barrett were charged on Tuesday, August 11. Their court dates are being finalized. Additionally, a 16-year-old student of Riverside Drive, Kingston 20, was charged with aiding and abetting rape and having sexual intercourse with a person under 16 after he had sexual intercourse with a 15-year-old several times between November 2019 and June 2020. The matter was reported to the police and the 16-year-old charged. His court date is being finalized. Government orders a lockdown of 34 beaches and rivers. The government has ordered 16 beaches and 18 rivers across the island to be shut down for 2 weeks starting August 14 as part of COVID-19 control measures. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie made the announcement in the House of Representatives yesterday. He said the severe measure has become necessary due to indiscipline among patrons, certain activities which are endangering public safety, and a lack of response from the operators of these facilities to government safety guidelines. The facilities include 5 rivers in Kingston and St. Andrew and 1 beach, 1 river in St. Catherine, 2 rivers in Clarendon and 1 beach, 3 rivers in Manchester and 1 beach, 1 beach in St. Elizabeth, 2 beaches in Westmoreland and 1 river, 4 beaches in Trelawney, 3 beaches in St. Anne and 1 river, 3 beaches in Portland, 2 rivers in St. Mary, and 3 rivers in St. Thomas. Some of the popular spots include Cane River, Noisy River, Spanish Bridge River, Little Duns River, Frenchman's Cove, Boston Beach, Reggae Falls, and Winifred Beach. The minister said the operators of the facilities will be invited to meet with the authorities to discuss the way forward. Reopening of schools could be affected by a further spike in COVID-19 cases. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bisesa McKenzie has said a further spike in coronavirus cases in Jamaica could impact the reopening of schools next month. Dr. McKenzie expressed concern about the potential spread of the virus among children if cases are not controlled. What happens come September is really going to be dependent on how successful I imagine we're able to contain those cases. So I'm not able to make a prediction. But if it is that our cases continue like this and we're getting more communities that are involved, then the potential for spread affecting our children and our young people, and then them having that potential to spread within facilities like schools where you are much closer, that is going to be a very real possibility. And so a lot depends on how it is that we're able to take control of the cases that we have in the country in this month, she declared. Dr. Bisesa McKenzie revealed that over the last 3 days, health authorities have removed almost 50 people from their homes after members of their household tested positive for the coronavirus. She said the government found alternative accommodation for the individuals as it conducted contact tracing, but noted that this would put a terrible stress on our system that we have in place. Government allocates $1 billion for students on PATH and poor relief support. The government will be allocating $1 billion in back-to-school assistance to just over 200 children who are on the Program of Advancement through Health and Education PATH and poor relief support. Making the announcement in the House of Representatives yesterday, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark explained that this will include a grant of $8,500 per student on those programs at the primary and the secondary levels to help to purchase school supplies for the new academic year, which begins September. Additionally, he said the government will provide a grant of $5,000 to each child at the early childhood level who is on path on the Poor Relief Program. The payments will be made through the regular channels for those benefits, and those who are on both programs will be paid through PATH. He said the initiative is an expansion of the COVID allocation of resources to employees care program. Parliamentarians have also been asked to assist constituents to return to school from their Constituency Development Fund CDF allocations. Having started with a broad-based approach, we want to focus on the vulnerable population, Dr. Clark told the House. The opposition argued that while the assistance to the most vulnerable students was welcome, there are many others whose parents are urgently in need of help. Opposition spokesperson on education, Peter Bunting, called for a special COVID-19 assistance back-to-school grant of $10,000 per child across the board. At the same time, opposition spokesman on finance, Mark Golding, said his side was disappointed, arguing that members of Parliament MP should receive additional CDF funds instead of being made to redirect funds. More funds should have been provided for this. We are in a back-to-school crisis, in an economy which is contracting. There are many families who are not on path and who need the help but are not going to get it. There's nothing in this for them. It is an absolute dereliction of duty, he said. Dr. Clark told the House that other kinds of provisions will be made to support the blended teaching and learning format for education in the upcoming school year. Come September, we're going to have to make certain allocations that are not yet in the budget in order to support the Ministry of Education to ensure that vulnerable children and otherwise have access to learning, he said. He also made it clear that the government would not be increasing the CDF allocations during an election period. Meanwhile, Education Minister Carl Samuda assured that the preparations to administer education in the new COVID-19 environment is on track for the reopening of schools on September 7. He reiterated that registration packages should not exceed $5,000 for this school year and should outline what the package entails to justify the need for the fees. He said items that attract a cost, such as identification cards, insurance, physical education uniforms, should be itemized for purchase separately. Samuda also reminded school administrators of the non-mandatory fee policy for infant, primary, and secondary schools, emphasizing that the ministry will continue to fund schools through grants, which will be distributed in 4 tranches. The parent contribution charges should be reasonable and reflect consideration for the challenges our parents are facing during the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the minister said. He stressed that students should not be denied entry to schools because of their parents' inability to pay. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.